In a dramatic turn of events, Kash Patel, a former government official known for his deep involvement in national security affairs, has released what he calls explosive proof implicating former President Barack Obama in a covert political scandal. The documents and recordings, unveiled during a high-profile press conference, allege a hidden operation that could shake the foundations of American politics. The proof, according to Patel, reveals a secret operation orchestrated during Obama's presidency that involved unauthorized surveillance and manipulation of political opponents. Patel claims these actions were not only unethical but illegal, designed to undermine opposition figures and tilt key elections in favor of Obama's administration. The documents include internal memos, audio recordings, and email exchanges that suggest a coordinated effort involving multiple high-ranking officials. Patel stated, "This isn't just about politics. This is about the integrity of our democracy. What I'm revealing today shows a blatant abuse of power at the highest levels of government." He also accused mainstream media of ignoring these revelations for years, calling for a full independent investigation. The announcement has already triggered a firestorm of reactions across the political spectrum, with supporters demanding accountability and critics dismissing the claims as politically motivated conspiracy theories. Legal experts are now debating the potential ramifications, and many are calling for Congress to launch hearings to examine the evidence Patel has presented. As the news spread like wildfire, reactions poured in from politicians, analysts, and the public alike. Former Obama allies rushed to defend the ex-president, calling the accusations baseless and a desperate attempt to rewrite history. "These claims have been thoroughly investigated before and found to be without merit," said one prominent Democrat. Meanwhile, several Republican lawmakers seized the moment, demanding immediate hearings and an independent prosecutor to probe the allegations. Behind the scenes, whispers began circulating about the potential impact this could have on upcoming elections and the already polarized political climate. Some experts warned that if the evidence holds up, it could lead to significant political upheaval, damaging the legacy of Obama and undermining trust in government institutions. Kash Patel's credibility also became a major point of discussion. Supporters hailed him as a whistleblower risking everything to expose the truth, while detractors questioned his motives and past affiliations. Media outlets struggled to verify the authenticity of the documents, and fact-checkers worked overtime to assess the claims. The story rapidly evolved into a complex web of political intrigue, legal battles, and public outrage. Social media erupted with heated debates, hashtags trending worldwide as people took sides. The FBI reportedly opened a preliminary inquiry to determine if a formal investigation was warranted. Amid the chaos, Patel promised to release even more evidence in the coming days, vowing to continue his fight for transparency and justice. "The American people deserve to know the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be," he declared. As the pressure mounted, key figures from both political parties began to take definitive stances. Some moderate Democrats, while cautious, called for a thorough and impartial investigation to ensure that justice is served, regardless of party loyalty. "If there's any truth to these claims, we owe it to the American people to get to the bottom of it," said one influential senator. Meanwhile, several Republican leaders capitalized on the momentum, framing the revelations as proof of systemic corruption within the Obama administration. Legal experts debated the potential scope and consequences of the evidence Patel presented. Constitutional scholars highlighted the gravity of alleged abuses of power, including violations of civil liberties and misuse of government agencies. If proven true, such actions could trigger impeachment proceedings against officials involved or even lead to criminal charges. In Washington, Capitol Hill buzzed with activity. Congressional committees scrambled to schedule hearings, inviting Patel to testify under oath. The House Oversight Committee, traditionally focused on government transparency, took the lead in coordinating the inquiry. Yet, the political stakes made the process contentious, with Democrats warning against a partisan witch hunt and Republicans pushing for swift accountability. Meanwhile, the mainstream media landscape fractured. Some outlets gave extensive coverage to Patel's revelations, broadcasting expert analyses and interviews with key witnesses. Others remained skeptical, emphasizing the need for verification and cautioning against rushing to judgment. This divide further deepened the nation's political polarization. Public opinion polls began to reflect a growing split among Americans. A significant portion expressed outrage and demanded answers, while others viewed the claims as another chapter in the ongoing culture war. Social media platforms were flooded with conspiracy theories, calls for investigations, and heated exchanges between supporters and detractors. In the midst of this turmoil, Kash Patel emerged as a polarizing figure, praised by some as a patriot exposing the truth and dismissed by others as a political opportunist. Despite the controversy, Patel insisted that his mission was clear: to restore faith in government by unveiling what he described as decades of deception. As the investigation gained momentum, questions loomed large. How deep did the alleged operation run? Were other administrations implicated? And most importantly, what impact would this unprecedented scandal have on the future of American democracy? The unfolding saga reached a critical juncture as Kash Patel prepared to testify before Congress. The nation watched closely, divided between anticipation and skepticism. In his opening remarks, Patel reiterated his commitment to uncovering the truth, emphasizing that his evidence pointed to a deliberate campaign to manipulate political processes and silence dissent during the Obama years. His testimony included detailed descriptions of the covert operation, the players involved, and the mechanisms used to gather intelligence on political rivals. Lawmakers pressed Patel with tough questions, some challenging his credibility, others probing for specifics that could corroborate his claims. Meanwhile, investigations by independent journalists and federal agencies began to dig deeper into the documents Patel had released. Several whistleblowers stepped forward, providing additional context and support for some of the allegations. However, other parts of the story remained murky, and some evidence was contested or deemed inconclusive. As hearings continued, the political fallout intensified. Calls for accountability spread across both parties, though solutions remained elusive amid the partisan divide. The media spotlight shifted frequently between the legal proceedings, public protests, and the broader implications for democracy. Ultimately, the Kash Patel revelations sparked a nationwide conversation about transparency, government power, and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding democratic institutions. Whether or not all the claims were proven, the episode underscored deep fractures in American politics and the urgent need for reform. As the dust settled, Patel vowed to remain active in public life, committed to holding those in power accountable. The story of explosive proof against Obama became a landmark chapter in the ongoing struggle over truth, trust, and the future of the republic. In the weeks following Patel's testimony, the political landscape remained turbulent. Several congressional investigations were launched, with bipartisan committees attempting to sift fact from fiction. Some officials faced subpoenas, and a handful of senior aides from the Obama administration were called in for questioning. The revelations ignited fierce debates about executive power, surveillance ethics, and the balance between national security and civil liberties. At the same time, the public's trust in government institutions took a hit, with polls showing increasing skepticism across party lines. Advocacy groups on both sides of the spectrum seized the moment to push for reforms, calling for stricter oversight of intelligence agencies, clearer limits on presidential authority, and enhanced protections for whistleblowers. Amid this atmosphere, Kash Patel's role transformed from a behind-the-scenes operative to a prominent political figure. He embarked on a nationwide tour, giving speeches and interviews, framing himself as a champion of transparency and accountability. Supporters saw him as a hero willing to risk everything, while critics accused him of fueling division and pursuing personal ambition. Meanwhile, legal battles over the authenticity and legality of the documents dragged on, with courts weighing in on evidence admissibility and privacy concerns. The complexity of the case made it clear that any resolution would take years, further entangling the issue in partisan gridlock. In the broader context, the explosive proof saga prompted a re-evaluation of how history judges political figures and the lasting impact of secretive government actions. For many Americans, the scandal became a reminder of the fragile nature of democracy and the ongoing need for vigilance to protect it. As the dust began to settle, one thing was certain: Kash Patel's revelations had opened a Pandora's box, forever altering the conversation around power, politics, and the pursuit of truth in America. As the scandal unfolded domestically, its ripples were felt across the globe. International allies and adversaries alike monitored the situation closely, recognizing that the credibility of the U.S. government, and by extension its foreign policy, was at stake. Some foreign governments expressed concern that internal turmoil might weaken America's leadership on the world stage, while others seized the moment to question U.S. intelligence practices and ethics. Historians began to place Patel's revelations within a broader narrative of political intrigue and governmental secrecy that has shadowed the American presidency for decades. Comparisons were drawn to previous administrations embroiled in controversy, fueling discussions about the recurring challenges of transparency versus national security. In academic circles, scholars debated the long-term consequences of the scandal for democratic governance. Was this an isolated incident, or indicative of deeper systemic problems? Could the political system reform itself, or was polarization destined to deepen? These questions sparked conferences, books, and media documentaries aiming to unpack the complexities of power in modern America. Meanwhile, grassroots movements energized by the revelations pushed for greater civic engagement. Voter registration drives, calls for election reform, and demands for campaign finance transparency gained new momentum, signaling a public eager to reclaim agency in the democratic process. For Kash Patel, the international attention brought both opportunities and challenges. Invitations to speak at global forums came alongside increased scrutiny and security concerns. As his story became part of a larger global dialogue about democracy, accountability, and leadership, Patel remained focused on his mission, highlighting that the fight for truth transcends borders. In the months that followed, Kash Patel's life changed dramatically. Once a relatively private figure within government circles, he now found himself at the center of a nationwide movement demanding accountability and reform. His personal sacrifices became evident as he faced relentless media scrutiny, threats from anonymous sources, and legal challenges aimed at discrediting him. Despite this, Patel remained steadfast, often emphasizing that the cause was greater than any individual. Politically, Patel's revelations sparked a wave of activism. New candidates running on platforms of transparency and anti-corruption gained traction, winning key local and state elections. Civic organizations rallied to support these efforts, coordinating nationwide campaigns to increase voter awareness and promote ethical governance. At the same time, the Obama administration's legacy came under renewed examination. Supporters acknowledged past mistakes but defended many of the administration's accomplishments, urging the public to consider the complexity of governance. Opponents, meanwhile, used the scandal to push for sweeping changes in how executive power is monitored and constrained. Kash Patel himself began exploring a formal political role, weighing offers to run for office and join influential think tanks. His supporters saw this as a natural progression, believing his first-hand experience and commitment to reform could reshape the political landscape. As the nation grappled with the fallout, a broader conversation emerged about the nature of truth in the age of information. Debates about media bias, misinformation, and the role of social platforms became central to discussions about democracy's future. Through it all, Patel's message remained clear. Transparency is not just a policy, it's the foundation of trust between government and the people. As the political and social upheaval continued, tensions between opposing factions grew more intense. Protests erupted in major cities across the country, with passionate supporters of Kash Patel clashing with defenders of the Obama administration's legacy. The nation seemed increasingly divided, not only politically but culturally, raising fears of deeper fragmentation. In Congress, bipartisan efforts to address the crisis repeatedly stalled amid fierce disagreements over the scope and nature of reforms. Some lawmakers pushed for sweeping changes to intelligence oversight and presidential accountability, while others warned against undermining executive authority and national security. Meanwhile, new revelations surfaced. Leaked documents suggested that the covert operation might have involved a broader network of officials beyond those initially implicated. This sparked fresh investigations and added complexity to an already tangled web of accusations and denials. Kash Patel, aware of the mounting pressure, doubled down on his calls for transparency and justice. However, he also acknowledged the challenges ahead. "This is not a battle that will be won overnight," he said in a recent interview. "It requires patience, resilience, and a commitment to the principles that make our democracy strong." Behind closed doors, secret negotiations took place among key political leaders, aiming to find a path forward that could restore public confidence without further inflaming partisan divisions. The delicate balance between accountability and unity became the defining challenge of the moment. As the nation held its breath, the question remained: could America navigate this unprecedented crisis and emerge stronger, or was it on the brink of a new era of political instability? In the climax of this political tempest, a special bipartisan commission was finally established to conduct a comprehensive and transparent investigation. Chaired by respected figures from both parties, the commission vowed to set aside partisanship in pursuit of truth and justice. The hearings were broadcast live nationwide, providing the American public with unprecedented insight into the events surrounding the allegations. Kash Patel testified again, this time with corroborating witnesses and additional evidence. His revelations, while still controversial, began to gain credibility as cross-examination revealed inconsistencies and earlier denials by former officials. The Commission's work exposed not only the covert operation but also systemic flaws and oversight mechanisms that allowed such abuses to occur. At the same time, President Biden urged unity and healing, emphasizing the need to learn from the past while focusing on the nation's future. Bipartisan legislation aimed at strengthening intelligence transparency and protecting civil liberties was introduced, signaling a rare moment of cooperation. Public response was mixed but hopeful. Many Americans saw the Commission's work as a crucial step toward restoring faith in government. Others remained wary but engaged in the broader dialogue about democracy's resilience. In the aftermath, Kash Patel emerged as a symbol of accountability and reform, though his critics continued to challenge his motives. Regardless, his impact was undeniable. He had forced the nation to confront uncomfortable truths and sparked a movement demanding greater transparency. As the nation began to heal from this political storm, the story of Kash Patel drops explosive proof against Obama stood as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle to balance power, truth, and democracy in America. In the months and years following the Bipartisan Commission's report, the political landscape of the United States underwent profound transformation. The Commission's findings, which detailed both the covert operation under the Obama administration and systemic failures in oversight, served as a catalyst for sweeping reforms across multiple branches of government. Congress passed landmark legislation designed to enhance transparency and accountability within intelligence agencies. These new laws established stronger independent watchdogs, mandated stricter reporting requirements, and introduced robust protections for whistleblowers who come forward with evidence of government misconduct. The reforms aim to ensure that no administration, regardless of political affiliation, could wield unchecked power behind closed doors. Kash Patel, whose revelations had ignited the national debate, became a polarizing but undeniably influential figure in American politics. He leveraged his heightened profile to found a nonpartisan advocacy group dedicated to government transparency and civic education. Through public campaigns, town halls, and media appearances, Patel worked to mobilize citizens to demand ethical leadership and hold elected officials accountable. Meanwhile, the Obama administration's legacy was reassessed in academic and public discourse. Scholars recognized the complexities of governing during turbulent times but also scrutinized the ethical boundaries crossed in pursuit of political objectives. This nuanced reassessment contributed to a broader societal conversation about the delicate balance between security and liberty, a theme that resonated deeply in an era of rapid technological change and global uncertainty. The scandal's ripple effects extended beyond American borders. International allies looked to the U.S. as both a cautionary tale and a model for reform, inspiring similar efforts to strengthen democratic institutions worldwide. The episode underscored the global importance of transparency and the rule of law in maintaining public trust and effective governance. Despite lingering divisions, many Americans found common ground in the renewed emphasis on democratic principles. Civic engagement surged, with increased voter turnout and greater participation in local governance. Educational programs on media literacy and critical thinking flourished, aimed at combating misinformation and fostering informed citizenry. Yet challenges remained. Partisan tensions occasionally flared, and debates over privacy, security, and government authority continued to shape political discourse. The nation grappled with the ongoing task of safeguarding democracy in a rapidly evolving landscape. Through it all, Kash Patel's story remained a testament to the power of individual courage in confronting entrenched systems. His journey from government insider to whistleblower and reform advocate highlighted the enduring tension between secrecy and transparency in democratic governance. As history unfolded, the explosive proof saga became more than a scandal. It evolved into a defining chapter in America's ongoing quest to uphold the values of freedom, justice, and accountability. In the end, the saga of Kash Patel's explosive proof against the Obama administration left an indelible mark on American politics and society. The intense scrutiny, investigations, and reforms triggered by the revelations transformed not only government institutions but also the national conversation about power, transparency, and democracy. Kash Patel, having weathered fierce opposition and personal attacks, emerged as a steadfast advocate for accountability. Though his methods and motives continued to spark debate, many came to respect his unwavering commitment to exposing truths hidden from the public eye. His advocacy helped inspire a new generation of activists and public servants dedicated to ethical governance. The Bipartisan Commission's work laid the foundation for lasting changes, making it harder for future administrations to operate without oversight. New laws and policies created stronger checks and balances, reinforcing the delicate relationship between security needs and civil liberties. As the country moved forward, the divisions exposed by the scandal slowly began to heal, aided by a renewed focus on dialogue and civic responsibility. Americans increasingly recognized that safeguarding democracy requires constant vigilance, participation, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. In classrooms, newsrooms, and town halls, the lessons from the explosive proof episode became a touchstone for discussions about the importance of transparency and the risks of unchecked power. The story was taught not just as history, but as a reminder of the fragile nature of democracy and the responsibility every citizen holds. For Kash Patel, the journey was far from over. He continued to speak out, challenge abuses of power, and push for reforms, driven by a belief that truth and justice must always prevail. His legacy was one of courage and conviction, a testament to the impact one individual can have in shaping the course of a nation. And so, the chapter closed on a story of scandal, conflict, and change, but the broader story of America's democracy, its trials, struggles, and triumphs, carried on as vibrant and vital as ever.